just happened?
I should be sharing my screen with the agenda.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, Monday, February 22nd, 406, something like that. And roll call. Well, we have the people present. I don't see them now, but you do, Patrick, right?
I don't, but I took notes. So we have Diana, myself, Marilyn, Stephen, Roxy, and you, Nancy.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, has everybody, I'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody taken a look at the minutes that were sent out with the notice to have this meeting, part of the minutes?
And they should be on the screen now as well.
Okay, yeah, there they are. Yeah. Anybody would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Steve. I move the minutes be approved as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion of the minutes? No? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed. Okay, that takes care of. Now, there was other things attached to the minutes, that came across, I don't think, and one of them were expenditure stuff. Is that going to be discussed later?
That's part of the director's report, Nancy.
Okay.
So we will get to that.
Perfect. Okay, then I'll move on. Board business. Anybody have? I assume we all saw the short take that was sent out.
So that was the one that we sent out was from the last meeting. The board business today is to watch the next video.
Oh, that's it. Okay. To watch the next video. Okay. So I'm ready. Are you going to do it then?
Yep, I'm getting that up as well.
Thank you.
This one's just about 10 minutes long, so we will do that.
Thank you.
Welcome to Short Takes for Trustees. I'm Beth Novolinsky, the Director of Marketing and Communications for United for Libraries. We are the division of the American Library Association for trustees, advocates, friends, and foundations. I'm here today with our Executive Director, Sally Gardner-Reed, and we'll be speaking about advocacy. Sally, advocacy is becoming increasingly important for libraries these days. How important is it for library trustees to be involved in advocacy?
It's critically important. They're the library's leaders. If they aren't visible and vocal about the importance of libraries and working hard to get the community and the leaders in the community to support the library, if they're not showing that they care, why should anyone else care?
What are the best ways for trustees to be advocates for their library?
Well, fundamentally, and first of all, I think all library trustees should know the powers that be in their community on a first name basis. They should know the mayor, they should know all the council people in their community and other people who have a lot of influence. So whether or not they've been elected by the community at large or appointed by these people, they should know them. These people have a lot of influence, and you want that influence to be in favor of the library. So on a regular basis, they should be visiting their mayor and their council person and letting them know what's going on at the library. Now, I know cold calls can be hard for some people, so if a particular trustee isn't comfortable making an appointment and just going over to visit, then he or she could just take a fellow trustee with them. And it's always good to take a piece of information about what's happening at the library with you, but it's not enough to just say, oh, we got this new computer lab at the library and we're really excited about it. You have to tell why it matters. That's really important. So you can say, we've got this wonderful computer lab at the library and it's so wonderful because we're seeing these kids who don't have computers at home coming in after school, and they're doing their homework, and we're seeing that we can help level the playing field, because we know many children go home, have computers at home, their parents are helping them with their homework. Well, these children can come right into the library. Our librarians help them. They're printing reports, they're doing research, they're really able to compete academically, and we think that is so important. And in addition, we're seeing people who've been laid off from their work, who are unemployed, coming in and applying for jobs. I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of jobs, in fact, I would say most jobs, are not even accepting paper applications anymore. You have to apply online. And so what do you do if you're unemployed? The first thing you're probably going to cut is your internet. And so if you want to get back into a tax-paying employed situation, the library is just the place to come and apply for those jobs. The library staff will help you set up your own account. They can help you find resume resources, interview resources, so hopefully get you off of those unemployment taxes and food stamp services and right into that tax-paying employment services again. And we're also seeing entrepreneurs coming into the library, sort of setting up incubator spaces where they're hoping to launch a new business, which we find very exciting. So we may see some new small businesses here in town that got their start right at the library. We're really excited about that. So we're happy to see, you know, any support you throw our way, because we know a small investment in the library translates into big economic development and big economic drivers here in our own town.
Trustees should also be visible at budget times, right?
Absolutely. If the library's budget is part of a county or city line item, they should be there at budget time. But I have to say, not when the budget's being presented to the public. By then, it's too late. I see a lot of library supporters coming in red t-shirts with balloons at the town hearing on the budget. And sometimes they're able to get an incremental increase when they have enough people show up, but it's really too late. That budget's really put in place. So the trustees need to know the budget scheduling. When are the first budget talks taking place? When that happens is when the trustees need to be in there to present their budget informally, because typically there'll be a scheduled time for each department to present its budget. But they need to be there early on to explain how critically important it is for the library to be well funded.
You mentioned appointments for budget presentations. Can you tell us a little bit about what kinds of presentations would show the economic power of the library?
Well, I have to say, a lot of our funders really don't understand that libraries have been become really critical in the digital age. Many of them think that libraries have become obsolete. I don't know how many times I've heard, and probably all of us have heard, that why do we need libraries when we have the internet, thinking that everybody's got a Kindle and they can all download books and we can find all the information we want on Google. Well, the fact is, libraries have been doing what they've been doing for the last century and a half, which is collecting the world of information and making it freely available to all people, so everybody has access to all the information that there is out there. The world of information isn't free. In fact, for much of the information out there, it's very, very costly. But libraries are bearing that cost, as they always have, and redistributing and making it freely available. So we have to show the return on the investment and how valuable that return is on a very, very small investment. For example, most public libraries in the country receive less than 3% of any city's operating budget. So when a city decides they want to cut 10% of a library's budget, 10% of that 3 or less line item, that means library doors are going to close. So what are they gaining by cutting 10% of 3%? What are they gaining from that? Well, I can tell you what's happening at the library end of things. They are closing doors on job seekers, so they're going to continue to pay for unemployment and food stamps. They're closing doors on little kids who come to story times, who are going to, in all likelihood, be left behind in kindergarten, because studies show categorically that children who enter kindergarten without a book-rich environment enter behind kids who've had one, and most never catch up. What's the cost of that failure? That's the very definition of penny wise and pound foolish, I think. So we've got to show them that their investment in libraries, less than 3%, translates into huge economic dividends and huge social dividends in the end. And I think that's the case we have to make. You know, when I think about the fact that many cities decide that police and fire and some of those services are so costly and so important, I think that's the very definition of paying for our failure by not paying for prevention.
You are so right. It is a high price for failure, and libraries are so inexpensive for what they offer. Is it okay for trustees to rattle their sabers and shout from rooftops, or will that affect their credibility in some way?
I think their credibility is damaged immeasurably when we see libraries sort of wither on the vine. And it's not just the trustees, it's the community as a whole who lets this wonderful system that we've been developing over 100 years kind of go downhill because we're unwilling to fight for it. And as we just discussed, they're so inexpensive compared to the cost of not having this infrastructure available to our communities. So no, I think, in fact, just the opposite. They build their credibility when they fight for something as important as the public library.
And they certainly don't have to do it on their own because they have the Friends of the Library available to support them as well.
That's right, absolutely. Friends of Libraries have been working hand in hand with trustees for years to make sure that libraries are well supported and to rattle those sabers together. And it's very exciting to see that happening because the more people that we can engage in a campaign at the local level, the more likely there is for success. So I'm glad you brought that up because Friends can be an incredibly important piece of that advocacy pie.
Are there any strategies that trustees and Friends can use for convincing funders and others that the library should be well funded?
Maybe the ways change, but some things, in fact, don't change. It's a grassroots campaign. I think many voices need to be engaged to convince our funders that libraries matter to their constituents. So the old ways sometimes still work, like postcards, petition campaigns, phone calls, letters to the editor. And now, of course, we have all the digital ways, social media, to go viral and make sure that those who fund us know that the people who vote them in or out of office really care about their libraries.
Thank you, Sally. That was a really fun discussion about advocacy and about all the passion that library trustees and Friends and we can all show for supporting our libraries. And for our viewers, we'd like to let you know that we've compiled a great list of resources that can help you not only talk about the importance of libraries, but show the value of libraries in your community. And this list will be provided to you by your library director. We encourage you to explore those resources, and if you have any questions, to speak to your library director about those.
So I do have that handout and I will email it out after this meeting.
Hey, that was very informative, and I'm just thinking back about some of the fundraising and advocacy that Marilyn and I did 15 years ago when we were trying to get a new, right, Marilyn? Lots and lots and lots of advocacy and talking about things to the city council and all that. So those are all good suggestions. Anybody have any comments about the things? Steve, do you have? Okay.
Yeah, just a query, and that is, Patrick or Marilyn, you have an idea about what percentage of the independent city budget our library operation is? She was mentioning this 3%. I don't know if that's a fictional number or kind of a national norm number or what.
I know her example was just kind of a for instance. Maryland would know more percent of our city though.
Well, and the budget is being developed right now. So we should be getting all that information factually soon. And I know that the library has not received as much funding as other areas have, but so far we've done well with funding the employees that we need.
Yeah, I know that everything's going to be tight this next year for everyone, and totally anticipate that. But process that I've seen is that everything will be just in place. Financial department has reached out to me and let me know what I need to do ahead of the due date so that we're not scrambling at the end there. And yeah, we'll get submitted on time and everything this coming fiscal year.
And just as a note, I'm also on the budget committee for the city this year. And I'd like to, continue my advocacy for the library, which has been something I've done all along. So if any of you I'm talking to now have some thoughts about what you'd like to see happen down the line, just give me a call or send me an email or something, and I'll see how it fits in to the rest of what Patrick has to do. That's all Patrick's job, but we can still say things like, I want $1,000 more for Spanish translation books or something like that, and those are sorts of things that can happen. Right, Patrick?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so, all right. Anybody else have any other comments or questions about the short take? Okay, now I guess we'll just move on to a library manager report. And I see under there is that finance report. I see that now. So.
Yep. So I've got a few different things that I'm going to just pop through and share one after the other. When I have been sharing in meetings past, I've had at least little videos of people in the top corner, and I haven't seen that this time. So if you have questions as we go through, please holler at me, I guess is what I'm saying, because I won't see you. Be polite and raise your hand. So we're going to start with that finance document we were talking about. Just again, wanted to give you that update there. Oh, look, you all are on the side of the screen this time for me. Cool. So we're again doing really, really good. We did spend today, so not on this report because this is through January. So we are looking at, to kind of hit one more thing, we're looking with Monmouth and the city at moving up to the next phase of our services here, which is, for lack of better words, the limited in-person library services. And so in order to do that, we need those plexiglass screens and other things in place for us to open. So we have made a largish order of hand sanitizer stations that we have one for each entrance. We've got those plexiglass screens that should be coming in the next week, just so that when we are finally ready to reopen, we're there. I bring all that up because it is not on this budget sheet here because this was end of last month. So 59% of the year has elapsed. We've spent 55% of the money. I give you this just so that you can see we are on track with where I think we need to be. Were there any questions about the budget before we move on? Steven, I can see you waving your hand.
Patrick, Steve. The budget for the plexiglass, is that coming out of your operational budget? Because I honestly don't know whether the City of Independence directly received any CARES money that would pay for stuff like that or not. Or
Great question. Marilyn, did you want to hit that? Do you want me to? I've got an answer, but it looked like you unmuted because you knew.
I did. The city did receive some CARES money. There is a possibility they have that left. I would have you ask on that. There is also some free PPE, personal protection equipment that's available from the Chamber of Commerce.
So the question is, I don't know for sure. We bought some plexiglass screens before. We were told spend it by certain date, and so we spent our money and got that ordered. And then when they came here, we ordered 7 of them for the computer screens and for the computer stations where the patrons are, as well as for our circulation desk. They had all been dropped, and the corners on the same corner on all 7 of them were cracked. So luckily we were able to return it. They paid for shipping to return it back. They gave us 100% refund. So we didn't lose any money, but when we bought that was out of the CARES money, and I don't know if we can use that CARES money. Again, I have a meeting with city manager tomorrow, and I'll double check with him on that. If not, we should be able to cover it out of our budget, but I would sure love to have it go back into that CARES money that we've got before. Does that answer your question, Stephen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So Marilyn, did you say that the chamber has PPE money available?
No, they have supplies that you can get for free.
Oh, for example.
For example, masks, gloves, hand sanitizer.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, so replacing the damaged vinyl things is not something you can do with that company, Patrick?
We reordered, we did all that, but they had to refund and then order again. They wouldn't just ship us a new one, is how that worked. So
Oh.
we'll play their game. That's fine.
Okay. Sounds crazy. Okay, are you done with your financial report? Does anybody have any more questions? Diana, Roxy, anybody? Okay.
Nope.
If there's no more finance questions, I'll just go to my next little deal for you. And this is the one that, apologies, I didn't get out beforehand. We talked about the ice storm briefly. We lost 3 of our probably about 45, 50-foot oak trees at our house. And so I was playing lumberjack all last week trying to chop those up, which meant that I didn't get this made up in time for you all. But this first at the top of the page, just the not the graph, the spreadsheet looking thing there, that is our carryover or one more additional line for where we're at with the Better World Books sales. If you were to pull up the one that we passed out last month where January was partly over and look at this total figure now, we actually ended up selling about $150 more worth of stuff in that last week of January, which for us, ended up getting us about $9 more, but that's $9 we didn't have before. And so you can see our commission so far is $88.41, which means that I 100% anticipate that we will get that check. If you recall last time, if the check for the quarter was under $100, they didn't say, or excuse me, under $50, they didn't send it. And so we're good to go with that and are looking forward to the next quarter there. We've started going through the fiction section now, the adult fiction. We've finished all of the nonfiction. We've finished weeding through the entire Spanish collection and nonfiction. And so now we're working our way through that, as well as using the Better World Books tool to just scan those donations that come in that are not set for the collection. We can, instead of try to just pass them directly on to the friends, we can send them on to Better World Books. They're some of our more loved items that wouldn't look quite as good in the collection that we're having here. I also wanted to make another circulation spreadsheet for our Overdrive, the ebook circulation. Again, looking from last fiscal year to this fiscal year, January again was another month that shot up. So we're still seeing that increase overall in our electronic circulation. And it looks to me like the winter month doldrums of not circulating we've passed that, and things are starting to circulate electronically, as well as, if I scroll to this next one, our physical circulation as well has started to bump up, and even more so If you recall last month, I was talking about when we first started checking out items after we shut down at the beginning of the pandemic. A large number, percentage was those automatic renewals just because we weren't getting things back. People weren't doing curbside. They had nothing going on. Now we've more than doubled the amount of circulation for first time this last month in January than when we started doing curbside in July. And our renewals have gone down, even though our totals have gone up, which to me says more people are using the library and they're getting more items for the first time instead of holding on to them for those automatic renewals. So those are the circulation items right there. I don't have a fancy chart. So I'm going to stop sharing and just talk to you all. If you recall, we mentioned that we were going to do another book giveaway around Valentine's Day. That was scheduled for the 13th, which was Ice Stormageddon. So we had 0 people come. Thank goodness no one was driving around trying to come to the library and get their free book in the middle of all of that craziness that was going on. But we did just post out on our Facebook and let people know by word of mouth that during curbside over the next week, we would still be passing out candy and books to the kids. And so we did give away 35 books. It was less than last year and obviously less than we wanted, but I don't blame anyone for not coming on that Saturday and getting items there. We're continuing to, like I briefly mentioned, work with Monmouth as well as the city to get our next phase of what we do as soon as the county moves down from extreme risk to high risk, or whatever the official terms are this week. We want to be able to move to our next phase. For us, in speaking with Monmouth, like I've said before, we want to kind of offer not necessarily mirrored hours of each thing, but we do want to offer the same things so that people won't call one or the other and say, well, Independence is doing this, why isn't Monmouth? Or Monmouth is doing this, why isn't Independence? And we're working together and following kind of what Dallas in the county has already started to do, just so that there's that uniformity countywide there as well. What that is probably going to look like for this first phase of reopening for us is that we will have limited in-person browsing hours. So we won't be open our original hours. We'll still have, you know, masks required, limited number of people based on whatever the Oregon health guidelines are for our square footage in here. And just kind of go with that, limited hours each day where people can come in and browse. While the library is opening for browsing, we are thinking that the computers will not be open for people to use during that time. Instead, what we will do is, since we have staff in the building longer than those limited hours are, is we would do computer use by appointment during the closed hours. So they can call us, they can contact us, they can email us, and we would get them set up with that computer time. Especially at this time of year, we have a lot of people already who have called about, how can I print my tax forms? What stuff can you get me so that I can start working on filing? So having that computer use, I see a big, a big thing there. And then we will continue, obviously, our curbside there and expand those curbside hours and talking with the staff where we would also provide curbside if it's a time that we're open for browsing, but people aren't comfortable coming into the building. It makes zero sense to me to be open and have people in through the building. And if someone were to call from the parking lot, say, oh, I'm sorry, you have to come back on Tuesday, when we're just doing curbside. So we would obviously provide that service during the times that we're open there. So the only other thing that we would not be offering is that we would continue our virtual only programming and not having any of the programming in person, just because that would cut down on the, we still can't use our meeting room, and we're trying to keep people in and out of the building as quickly as possible, as opposed to congregating and doing things like that. So that's not finalized, but that is kind of where this reopening I don't like, because reopening makes it sound to me like we're back in business like normal, but this limited phase is what that's going to look like.
So Patrick, am I understanding you right that the only time people will be able to use our computers are during closed hours?
Just during the times when it's not open for browsing, just so we would have those hours kind of staggered. So if we're open to browse, then we wouldn't want the computers open, because we're trying to limit the number of people that we're going to have sitting in the library. And then when people are on the computers, we don't want other people walking around behind them and other things like that. We're also limiting the number of computers that we're going to have going at a time, just so that we don't have to, we'll
Okay,
keep people they're 6 feet apart and do our part to follow those guidelines there.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any questions of Patrick on his report? And
I do have one last thing, Nancy.
Oh, sorry.
The hotspots are here. We've posted signs. We've got everything. We've reached out to people. So there are 21-day checkout, 90-day checkouts. We will also get to that under the business where we approve that policy that's been in place. But they're here. They're actually in these bags on my desk back, or on the table back there. They're little slick. So they're here and available for checkout whenever.
Super. Nice. Yeah, I see that under new business. We'll look through the agreement. So, okay. Is that it then for your report, Patrick?
Barring any questions from anyone else.
Yes. Anybody? Steve? How about you? Don't you have another question?
Yes, but I'm going to hold it for the hotspot because while you're giving your friends the library report, Patrick can unpackage one and hold what our hotspots look like.
Great idea, Stephen. All right. Okay, well, I'll go on to the next committee reports. And the Friends of the Library has not met, as you can imagine, and because we don't have all of our members do not have this Zoom ability, we would just go on using the phone and letters. And this last month, we received $40 in donations. 20 of it was for the book, the Storm book, that famous book Betty Blue wrote. And the other one was some miscellaneous. I guess it's just because it was cash, so I couldn't. You don't know who it was from, do you, Patrick? That $20.
I don't know anything. No.
You know nothing.
I'm just grateful for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always like to write thank you notes if I can. So anyway, okay, so that's it. And Marilyn, did you have anything you wanted to add regarding the Friends of the Library as chairperson?
I do not. You are correct that we have not been meeting, and that is as an accommodation to our members who are not as tech savvy as some of the rest of the world. And from me saying that that is funny, because Steve just commented that I, for the first time, could be seen on one of these Zoom meetings because I don't have a camera.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Patrick, were you able to get a hotspot thing out to show?
So in the box, this is just the box. I've opened it here. Comes with a charger, and then this is the hotspot. This is all that it is. For comparison, this is my phone. So that's about the size of it right there. It's got just a single button, so they only need to worry about charging in the hole and pushing the power button and cycling through whatever info they need with the power button. We have gone through and worked with all of the staff so that they are comfortable with it, so that when someone comes and picks it up, we can give them kind of the run through so they know what's there. But yeah, they're super slick and pocket sized. So
Perfect, yeah.
And then Patrick, how many units do you have?
we have 10.
10? Okay.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, Patty. We'll be moving on. Then unfinished business, the strategic planning update. Do you have something for us on that?
Either I or Stephen, but the update is we have not met.
Okay.
So we we sent out, if it was Stephen and Leslie and myself, we were
Yeah.
not able, Stephen and I in talking, pretty sure Ice Storm kind of just threw everyone into a loop there, and we weren't able to meet to get that going. So I will reach out to Leslie. I was hoping that she was here today and we would just plan a time, but I will reach out to both of them. I'll probably just do a group email CC and we can plan the time that way and get together. What we are going to do to start is we're looking at the city's 2040 vision as well as the current plan, just to see where we're at and how the library can tie into that 2040 vision.
Great, great.
Anything else I'm missing, Stephen?
Nope, that's it. We're blaming everything on the ice storm.
I'm
Because
for
all
it.
the days that I checked available is when it turned out I had no electricity. So
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's really grim. How long were you out of electricity, Stephen? Were you?
where I'm at, we went out early Saturday morning and we got it back 2 days earlier than we should have, but I still have neighbors that don't have electricity.
Yeah, yeah. That's too bad. So it's pretty bad. Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. I after the meeting last month, I looked through all of my old stuff that I tend to save about the library and the library board, and I couldn't find an old version or any version of the planning, the strategic planning thing. So starting from fresh will be a challenge for you, but you're up to it. You have lots of spare time now that the storm is over, you guys. Okay, so let's move on. New business and the hotspot lending policy, and it was in with the agenda and all that sort of thing. So,
Yep, so
Patrick,
I'm happy to pull that up again. Is that something
Okay.
people would like to see?
It'd probably be nice to scroll through
Okay.
because I was scrolling through it and a lot of good stuff. And again, like you mentioned, we're going to be importing the hotspot policy that other cooperating libraries are using.
Yes, and so what this is this is the user agreement that Chemeketa, whose devices these are, right? They're giving them to us. This is their agreement that they have come up with. So what I am proposing that you all do is simplify this as much as possible for ourselves, and that the policy we put in place is that the library, because if you look through terms and conditions, you can see they have to be 18 years. They have to have a library card in good standing. If you're a parent, you're responsible for what your children are doing with the hotspot. If it's overdue, it's going to be deactivated. This is the fines that's been accrued. So everything that we would want in a policy, Chemeketa has already come up with. And so because of that, I would suggest strongly that for our policy, we just say, we would put this in our library, in our policy manual, and say the Independence Public Library follows the Wi-Fi hotspot user agreement that is in place by the Chemeketa Community Regional Library System, which is : paste. And so this is what we would do.
I like that approach.
I agree.
So, Patrick, I just have one comment on the 5th bullet point. There's a spelling error, and it drives me crazy when I find stuff like that. But
Oh, for our
says-
hot pots.
yeah, for your hot pot. So,
Oh, those are delicious though.
well, probably nobody wants to pay $85 for a hot pot. So just,
I
Like
will,
I said-
I will definitely make sure they know that too, especially since this is the one that I've printed off to be ready. One of the things that Chemeketa has asked that we do is when these circulate, we give them a copy of this. So They're working, this is the English version, they're working on a Spanish version as well. So I'll make sure that that is noted.
Well, especially since it's coming from the library. You don't want to have spelling errors in coming out of the library.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, has everybody looked it over enough that they're in agreement with Patrick that we should just or endorse this agreement and as written, or as will be in any corrections for spelling, of course? Does everybody agree to this? I'm not sure. Do we need to have a vote?
Since we are adding it to the policy manual, you do need to vote on that.
I think so too. Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the Wi-Fi hotspot user agreement?
I move to approve the Wi-Fi hotspot agreement as provided in the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Great. Any discussion? More discussion?
Well, I have one other question. So on the back page, it says unlawful use of the internet is prohibited. And I assume that means like hacking into somebody else's bank accounts or porn downloads or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, so basically what Chemeketa was trying to do was mirror the internet use policies that are already in place with our either wireless here or with the patron access computers that are people could come and use. So just like we don't want people doing that on our devices.
Yeah.
Understanding mostly it's libraries. I mean, bottom bullet on that page 7 is libraries not responsible, right?
Yeah.
And same thing, we're covering ourselves, but also don't do bad things.
Well, yeah, and I can see where somebody take it home and think, oh, I'm at home now, nobody can see it, I'm gonna do this, but
Oh,
you know.
good thinking. Yeah.
So, you know, might be a good thing to kind of point out here and there.
We will, and we do go over this at least the first time someone checks it out.
Okay. Okay.
And they have a copy of this agreement as well.
Okay. And maybe you should make them sign it before they
Yes, we
check
do.
it out. Okay.
How would you be able to monitor that kind of accessibility?
When the FBI shows up?
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know.
Patrick, do you know? Because there's no.
I don't monitor what other people do with these hotspots.
And there's no record of what they do with them.
What reports Chemeketa gets, I'm not sure, but on our level, we don't. We get circulation usage, and that's all. We could ask for data use, but all it is how much data was used in each billing cycle, not necessarily, at least on my level, what data was used for, whether it's streaming video games or playing online or going on Facebook or whatever it is.
So Patrick, it may be in the policy, and I don't recall, in terms of renewal, because there's 21-day and 90-day, how often can something be renewed before it has to be physically brought into the library, just in case there's a wait list for someone else to get access to a hotspot?
Yeah, so the way that we're working it is that when people check it out, they tell us what they want it for, either 21 days or 90 days. We can go in and change basically the way that the system works, and this doesn't matter, but they're 2 different types of items so that they have 2 different circulation period rules, right? And so if this one that I've got here is, I don't know, but if it was a 90-day and someone wanted a 21-day, we just go in real quick and change it to be 21-day. The way that it works is if it is a 90-day circulation, it does not automatically renew. It doesn't renew for the people. They have to bring it in, and that's where those day late fines in our hot pot,
yeah,
hot bullet.
Yep.
Those will start coming. 21 days will automatically renew once, unless there's a hold on them, just like our regular items do. But what we're doing is if there is not a hold and people want that 90-day or even that 21-day for their second time again, bring it by, wave it at us, and we'll check it out to you again. We're not going to make them come in and out.
So does a 90-day hotspot quit transponding after 90 days until you click something and?
Not for the
computer
90
system
days.
for
It's
it?
after that 5 days with their build the replacement charge. Then Chemeketa is the one who runs that report. They're the ones that host the software. Once that report is keyed, then they also have they'll take those reports and they'll go and they'll just turn off the device there.
Okay.
So it's not
Kind
anything
of
that handles on our side.
Urge the patron to bring it in to officially renew it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Steve, for that question. That was pretty interesting to find that out. Okay, anybody else have anything more they wish to discuss or any questions before we take the vote? No? So it's been moved and seconded that we accept this Wi-Fi hotspot user agreement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Motion is passed. Just with the corrections, of
Should be.
course. We don't want a hot pot in there. So.
Yeah, we will change the spelling and add that. I'll get that put into the policy manual. Thank you.
I agree. We should be best. Okay, is there any other discussions or announcements anybody has that they want? So I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn. Anybody?
I make a motion to adjourn. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right. Okay. Had a motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.